Hello and welcome back to the Grey Wolf RV channel. And if you are an RV owner with a rear accessory receiver, but also have a rear mounted spare tire like this, then this video is for you. So KUAT, who is the maker of this amazing Piston Pro X 2-bike rack, also makes an accessory called the Hi-Lo, and this particular one called the Hi-Lo Pro. And if I'm being entirely honest, the one to buy is the Hi-Lo Pro. The reason being, just like KUAT's bike carriers, it has the anti-wobble technology built into it. So let's take a look at how that works on this Piston Pro X. So before I go ahead and use the integrated 8mm Allen key in this Piston Pro X, I want to show you just how sturdy that this bike rack is. And the reason being is because what this 8mm Allen key does is it adjusts a wedge system that is actually integrated into the shank of the actual bike rack assembly, and that presses on the inside of the accessory receiver. And now that I have it loosened off, you can see just how much movement there actually is. Let's get this removed and I'll show you how that works. So taking a close look down here on the shank itself, we can see that this is the actual cam that we are activating when we're adjusting that 8mm Allen key, whether we're adjusting it to loosen or adjusting it to tighten. And again, what this does is this presses on the inside of the accessory receiver in this case, and it allows for the elimination of any wobble, because it's violent enough back here that the last thing we need is there to be actual movement and play in the bike rack. So now let's take a closer look at the purpose of this video, which is the Hi-Lo Pro from KUAT. So just like the Piston Pro X and KUAT's other hitch mount or receiver mount bike racks, the Hi-Lo Pro has that same integrated cam system that the standard Hi-Lo does not. And if I'm being entirely honest, this is the one to buy. The reason being is that if you have play in this receiver, and then you have even more play with, say, a standard bike rack that doesn't have that, it's just going to amplify and magnify the amount of movement that you're going to get here. What's actually interesting to note as well is when you're actually purchasing the Hi-Lo Pro, it comes equipped, or supplied I should say, with one of KUAT's really nice receiver or trailer coupler locks here. However, if you already have a KUAT bike rack, then you may end up doing what I did, which is ordering a separate lock independently such that you can get it keyed to match. That way you can use the same key for all of the accessories that you have. I'm not aware of how to do that when ordering from KUAT. Just know that it is supplied. However, if you are in the Alberta area and you're in the market for a brand new one of these, let me know because I currently have it for sale. I also want to take a minute to note how the Hi-Lo, where it gets its name, is it has a high position and a low position, or maybe not position, but receiver height. The point being is that when you're extending beyond the rear of the trailer, you're inherently decreasing what's called the departure angle. So approach angle is as a vehicle or trailer is approaching an incline, and likewise a departure angle is when it's coming down. As this is extended out back, if it didn't have this raised section here where the actual bike rack mounts to, and it was all on the same plane, then you are proportionally reducing the actual departure angle as you extend it out backwards. By raising up the coupler height, even just that 2 inches, it doesn't necessarily offset it entirely, but it helps preserve some of that departure angle so that when you come and you add the bike rack in, at least it's up higher. It's like a tiered system, so to speak. And of course, this will still work on vehicles. So if you have like a Ford Bronco with a rear mounted tire just like this, then it will still achieve that same goal. But keep in mind, on a vehicle like a Bronco, the front and rear axles on that vehicle are displaced all the way to the front and end, whereas on a trailer, those axles are actually located much more in the center of the vehicle, which translates into more pronounced angles that you will see, like a seesaw, for example. So maintaining the departure angle on the back end of an RV is actually much more important than even on a vehicle, of which it's already quite important. So that's just another feature of the Hi-Lo Pro. All right, let's get this back installed, and I'll wrap up by telling you about the Piston Pro X and why it's good for RVs. One little pro tip whenever you're installing your KUAT bike rack or even the KUAT Hi-Lo Pro is I like to give it a wobble as I'm doing here. And what that does is that just ensures that that cam is getting up in the corner of the receiver and it's not binding elsewhere. I've never really had an issue, to be honest with you, but just a little pro tip. There we go. So as mentioned, the KUAT Piston Pro X is one of two receiver or hitch mount style bike carriers that are rated for use on the back of an RV. And I want to show you perhaps what I think is one of the main reasons for that. And that is because the Piston Pro X uses 2 points of contact where it clamps down onto the wheels itself using these adjustable arms. It might be easiest to think about this like being in the back of the school bus. That movement becomes magnified. Well, of course, it's magnified even more on the back of an RV trailer when it's bouncing down the road. So having the dual points of contact is really going to maintain that your bikes are secure. One really important feature that's worth mentioning about the Piston Pro X is that it actually has 2 taillights that are integrated into the rack itself and are visible when the rack is both in its carry position as well as in its upward stow position. Now, granted, they are not Department of Transportation or DOT approved lights, but what they do is they act as a visual aid to move that field of view back for motorists behind you. And what I'm getting at is that same phenomenon. If you've ever followed a motorcycle behind a vehicle, it's so easy to actually end up having that visual field looking at that vehicle in front of the motorcycle instead of actually judging your distance, your following distance, that is to say, behind that motorcycle. And so the same thing is true here. So these brake lights and turn signal lights will actually help move that field of view back, so when people are behind you, they can actually better gauge how far they are behind the trailer. And it becomes even more important if you have the +1 or +2 bike rack extensions on the Piston Pro X. What it will also do is supplement the braking light that are being produced by the actual trailer brakes themselves. For more information on the actual KUAT Piston Pro X, I encourage you to jump over to the Grey Wolf Bike channel, where I have a video that goes through sort of the pros and cons of this product. In the meanwhile, thank you very much for watching. If you aren't already subscribed yet, please consider doing so, because this is just one of many accessories that I have added and will continue to be adding to this off-grid Winnebago Micro Mini FLX product. Again, thank you very much for watching. You take care, and bye for now.